talk about Pentel's Touch pen. This is the Pentel Fude Touch brush sign pen, and I'm going to talk about a few features of it that I have not seen gone over here in other videos, so I thought I would address them here. First off, when you're buying this pen alone, it can be a little bit confusing because there's one that's almost identical, and that is, I believe, the sign pen. So this is the Touch brush sign pen, so it also has the word sign in it. And the other one doesn't have the word touch in it. So that is one key differentiating factor. The other is that this has a sparkle, and I'm sorry I'm not in brighter conditions, but this has a sparkle in it. And so that is another immediate way to tell the difference between this one and the other version, which has more of a bullet. The other version has more of a bullet tip, and this one has the more Fude-like brush-like nib. Otherwise, they're pretty much identical. If you see the two of these together, they would both be black, their caps would look the same, the length would be the same, the feel of them is the same. Look for the sparkle, and of course the word touch is a dead giveaway. A couple things that I've seen all kinds of incorrect information about on the internet is whether or not this is a waterproof ink, and it is not. This is a water-soluble, water-based dye ink. So what does that mean? That means if you're sketching and you put water over it, like for instance, if you're into urban sketching or you are someone who does line and wash type paintings, if you wet it, it's gonna bleed, and that's okay too. That's not the end of the world, but that's just a different look. The next thing that no one ever talks about, and I wish someone had told me sooner because I struggled mightily with this pen, is that you can use it unposted. What does that even mean? I did not even know what that means until I started getting into the world of pens, and that simply just means not to stick your cap on the back, which is my lifelong childhood habit, putting this cap on like this. But I found that when you do this, it actually changes the center of the gravity and it makes it harder to work with. So when you use it with the cap off, which is technically called unposted because of course you're taking the cap off. So saying uncapped means taking the cap off. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that this terminology is getting a bit confusing, but if you use it unposted, which I called uncapped until I learned the correct terminology, it changes the way that it feels in your hand. It's lighter and it's just easier, especially if you have a heavy hand as I do, to get the kind of strokes that you may be looking for. So let's just do a tiny little bit of mark making here. You can get just such a fine upstroke, and then when you press, you get this thickness, and then you go up again, and it really gives you a beautiful variation of line weight that I believe the other Pentel that looks just like this does not give you. It just varies so much, and that is because of this wonderful little nib. So when I was using this, and I just wish no one ever addresses this, and very often when you do see reviews, you can't actually, they're in so tight that you don't even see whether they've got this posted on the back. So I'd been thinking that, it looks like this when you're watching other reviews. I was not realizing till I looked a bit closer that the cap sometimes was off like this, and I was like, oh, they're not using it posted. I wonder if that makes a difference. So I tried it. So here it is posted, and when it's posted, if it's my hand, if it's the weight, I don't know. That doesn't look so bad, but I was really struggling. So I will put a link to, I'm not done yet with the review, but in case you want a closer look, I'm going to put a link to this down below, and I'll also pop that in the comments, and I'll show you the book. Let me just zoom you out here a little bit. I'll show you the book that I've been working in because I'm trying to get into brush lettering. That is kind of the point of all of this. This is a really excellent book if you want to start working in learning brush lettering. It's called Modern Calligraphy, and it's really good. It walks you through everything you kind of need to know. And this was the pen. This is how I ended up with this pen. It was either this or the Tombow, but she really strongly recommended this, the author of this book, so that's what I went with. But to get back to the book, it really shows you how to space, how to make your different letters, and then there are some fun projects, and then you can write on this actual paper. Yeah, see, when I'm using it posted, my hand is so heavy. If I use it unposted, it's just gets so much more granular and refined with my lines, and I'm not getting that because the center of gravity seems to change. It's just all over lighter and just feels so natural in the hand. And I'm shocked that it feels so different when I use it posted. But this is not news to anyone who's big into pens. This is just news to me because I'm not big into pens. I am a newbie. So just a plug for this book, if this is something you want to get into. It's just so much fun to ink these, and all you really need is this and this pen, and you can get started, and there are like fun projects in the back. Anyway, I'm not going to go through this whole book, obviously, but I think you get the point. And if you want to look further, again, links in the description and the comment box. And if you like this kind of review, if you could please just drop me a like and consider subscribing, that would be so helpful. Now about the pen itself, the grip is really nice on this. There are no ridges. There's just a tiny bit of something that I can feel right around here that I think could get tiring if you're holding for a very long time. If you're someone who holds up tight like this, you're not going to feel that. If you're way down here, you're not going to feel that either. But with my particular grip, for some reason, I have a way of putting my hands on the seam on every pen that I own. So that's not something new for me. So this is a kind of a weak demo. So let's have a look at a few other lines. I know I'm casting a bit of shadow here, so please forgive me, but I think you'll see no matter what. So you get so thin, especially if you go more upright than more 45 degrees. You get some variation in character in the lines as well, as you can see. So let's just draw a little something here. You can get it thick, go upwards, get it thin. It's a pretty beginner-friendly pen, but I just wish someone told me to use it unposted. Right, so we can see some lovely differences in the character and the weight of the lines, especially here. Have a look at that. That looks really good. Let's make some thick marks. And you can see that it almost is like a brush when you get further out. You can really squash this too, by the way. Really squash it, and it just pops back into place. It's quite impressive for like a pen that costs just a few dollars. So the reason I wanted to do this was to wet test it. So we've got my little spray bottle here that I use for watercoloring. Let's see what happens. Whoa, my goodness. Okay. Okay, well, there you go. So that, I hope, answers the waterproof test. It is most definitely not waterproof. If there's any question about it at all. Let me show you a drawing that I have made using this pen. Right, normally I would just leave this to dry, but because I want to turn the page, I'm just going to absorb some of this so it doesn't completely ruin and go through these pages. I just want to pick up a little bit of that, as you can see here. Okay, I'm just going to put my Cotman Winsor & Newton filbert there to stop this from touching the other page. I'm going to show you let's back out a bit. I'm going to show you a drawing that I made because I wanted to test out all the different line weights you can make, and so I think that this will be pretty illustrative of the amazing difference you can get with just this simple one pen. Here we are. This is a Miss Dior perfume illustration that I based using the magazine ad, that's the word I'm looking for, and the commercials based on this Miss Dior perfume. So that's what this is based on, but you'll see here, it gets so thick, and you can get it very thin as well, just by lightly touching. You can just get this amazing variety of line widths. So it's great for brush lettering. It's good for drawing if you want that character, you want that thickness and that thinness, or you want lines that even in the one line you'll have thick and thin, as we looked at back here before we did our wet test. If you want one pen that can do all those different things, look no further than this Pentel Touch Pen. Pentel makes great products. If you want to get into brush lettering, this pen is, I feel like you can't go wrong. That was absolutely great advice. I just wish that someone had told me, or maybe she did and I didn't see it, to use it with the cap not on, aka unposted. It weighs nothing and will feel so natural in your hand compared to when you put it on here like this. It seems silly that such a minor thing would make any difference, and this is literally not something I ever thought about in my life until I started using this pen and really was struggling with the brush lettering. Doing that made all the difference. And then also realizing that it is not waterproof, so it's just not gonna work for me in terms of the watercolor work that I do. I have lots of other videos where I talk about like different watercolor stuff, so if you're interested in going down that rabbit hole with me, I'll link that up at the end of this video. But I don't think it's ever gonna really work when I do that unless I wait for the drawing to be completely dry. It's not a go for me in that regard. I have other just like fine liners that I prefer. But this has a unique place in my arsenal of pens. I also have a little pen review where I talk about this and some others, just a mini pen review in my collection. I will link up that video for sure, because if you're into pens, maybe you want to see that. I mean, if I can just see if I can just quickly find the tester page. Yeah, so you'll see me test all these different pens, including this one, in that video. And so I did this in that, it's not a tutorial, in that review as well. After I did this, then I was just fiddling around making some garden sketches. Again, here's my sad attempt at brush lettering. But look how light you can get this. I mean, I drew this bird and these flowers just using a really light touch. And when you press down hard, you get this amazing variation. I've never used these pens until I bought this. They were just not on my radar because brush lettering is completely new to me, as are Fude pens. All right, I'm gonna leave the review off there. I hope this was helpful. If it was, give it a like. And well, I hope we see you on another video. Thanks for spending your time here with me.